Check one. Check two. Okay, we're live everywhere. Cool. Oh, mute you. There we go. All right, awesome. So let's see. Can I see all the things I need to see? There are all of those. That is there. Okay, that's not available. Well, that's not awesome. Let's see. So stop it. How do I? There we go. Okay, so today we are going to dig into more React. I am not a front-end developer, so my React skills are not awesome. But we need a front end to interact with our back end built on the Cloudflare Worker. Okay, let's just double check that. Let's turn this on, turn that down. There. Okay, so first thing, just make sure we have only what we need over here. First thing we need to do is to reorganize our project just a little bit before we get too far into advancing the code. So let's create some folders here. So we need to create new folder, component, services. Oh, it should have been rename. Components, services, hooks, context, assets, styles, oh, utils. Don't know that we need those, but we might. Oh, that was not what I wanted. Folder utils. Okay. Now we want, under the components, customers. And then let's move our customers into there. Okay. Now we want a new folder for health check. Check. Move our health check into there. All right, so we have good grief. Okay. Customers health check. Under context, we want auth. Just call it auth. But then we move our auth context, move always auth provider, let's move this into assets. I don't think we actually even need that anymore, but we'll keep it for now. Let's see, login component. Move our login into there. Let's see, I think we also wanted a above source. We already have public that has that up there. Do we want to move? I think the app can stay here and the index.js stays here. This should go into our styles directory. then in index, I think we need to change dot slash styles global CSS. Okay, there's that. Now, do we have a running server still? Well, let's double check that everything is where it needs to be. App, index.js, I think that's okay. All right, yeah. So let's go check our application. Let's just completely stop it and restart it, so that if there is anything that changed from moving files, that we don't have any errors. Can't resolve auth provider. Okay. I expected something would be a little off. So we start an index. Index is importing app, which should be good. App is trying to import, or actually, no, we did need to go back into the index, because index is dot slash context slash auth slash auth provider. Dot slash. Can't resolve dot slash context. Dot context auth context source context auth. Yeah, source context auth provider. So what are we doing wrong here? There we go. Can't resolve dot context slash auth. From here, context. Did I misspell anything? Context slash auth slash auth provider. It's right there. Auth context is right there. There's no import from that. Okay, I have no idea what. Maybe I just didn't save something. Something must have been opened and didn't get saved properly. Okay. Strange. Okay, so let's go check that. Not this one. I want this one. Refresh the screen. Okay, so we are let's fix that so that it's actually in a code block. I thought I did that already. Health check. Oh no, we did a set of paragraphs. That's okay. No, let's all right. Okay, so we are fetching our access key and our refresh token and fetching information from our API, which is coming from our database. So all of the refactoring the folder structure is now working. Now the next thing we want to do is because we are currently, where are we accessing that from? Directly from customers, I think. Well, I think, and also from the health check. So the health check is doing its own fetch, and the customers are doing its own fetch. And every other, whatever set of data we add in would be doing its own. We need a different method for that. So what we will do is create where am I putting that? That's there. Hang on just 1 second. Made some notes on what I want to do. Okay. Okay, so we want a service. Yeah, API service. You can rename it later if we need to. Our API service is going to a const HURL. No, we don't want that. We are currently proxying, so we just want /API. Then we want a fetch with token. Yep, exactly that. If response isn't okay, then we're going to throw an error for now. And then return response JSON. Now, should we await that, or I know that's a stream, but I don't know if maybe the await happens up. So let's should we wait for, yes, exactly that. Wrong one. Back here. Okay. So we have an API service that will land there. We would then want let's see. Lost my notes. So many windows. Here we go. All right, we want a custom hook. Wait a minute. Yeah, so we have the fetch with token, but now we want a, yes, yes, nice. Now this one doesn't need, this one doesn't need to use the fetch with token, which is fine. Oh, yeah, we actually do need the, yeah, actually we, yes, okay. Yes. I just love how much Copilot can just read my mind. We want to export. Yes, exactly. Okay. All right. So then we want to, we have the API service. Now we want to add a custom hook. And use fetch from API. Use context. Use state. And we're going to need use effect, I think. Still not a, yeah, we need the auth context. That's correct. Then we want fetch, which hang on here, API service. We exported login, we exported get customers, and we exported health check. So health check and get customers. Okay. Then we want to API service use fetch from API. Okay. We want to export constant of use fetch customers, and that's going to be let's see, we only need the access token. And instead of data, there should be customers, I think. Or does it need to? No, yeah, customers. So if we don't have an access token, return. If we don't have customers, then we get customers. Set customers. And I think this is going to be data.customers. So it returns the array. Let's just double check that we are talking about the correct thing here. So we come back over to the API. Oh, we don't have. There's Postman. Hello. Yes. Customers is part of the object. That's the array. Okay. No. All right. Let's just double check that we read. So use fetch customers. We need our access token from our auth context. We have customers data with a set customers. We have an error. We're not doing anything with the error or set error. Okay. So if we end up with an exception, that's what. Okay. And okay. If there's no access token, return. If there's not customers, then we go and fetch the customers and we store the customers. Okay. Now we also want to export use fetch health check. Yes. Yes, exactly that. Let's just double check here. So yeah, it was a use effect. So we don't need the token. I suppose we could keep it called data, right? Or do you end up exporting? So you export what comes back. This should be customers. So I think it is going to be named what you return it as, but I suppose you could rename it. Let's keep it named the same thing, I think. Not be. I wonder if I should look that up. I wonder if use effect is supposed to always return data. React Okay, it's not. So it should be fine to return. Wait, no, that's actually incoming. That's not what gets returned. That's the when either of those changes, I think that's when the effect is recalled. This is not a Mac. Yeah, this is what I was talking about on the variables changing, that it reuses the use effect. I am not clear on React terms, so let's try to get a little bit better on that. Okay, so keeps counting only though it should count once. Use effect runs on every render. That means when the count changes, a render happens. When the trigger, which then triggers another effect. This is not what we want. Several ways to control when side effects run. We should always include the second parameter, which accepts an array. We can optionally pass dependencies to use effect. That runs on every render, so not passing anything runs on every render. An empty array runs only on the first render. Runs on the first render and anytime any dependency value changes. Okay, so that runs every render. That is the use effect itself. So this would be calling our health check every render. That can't be what we want. We'll need to make some adjustments in the future, but let's go with a that. No? It's comma. And the comma comes before that and then that. So health check will only run once. This will run every time. Const customer ID, set customer ID null. Nope. But we're not exporting that. That's okay. We can come back and resolve that in the future. And actually, this is customer ID changes. So I'm not sure about how we actually set this and where we are supposed to set this, but at some point we want to fetch either the all customers or a specific customer, or we could make a different use effect. I'm not sure which makes the most sense. Let's just stick with this for now. But yeah, if our access token changes, we do want to check again. Okay. Health check login. We don't need that for those. Okay. Now. Actually, there was another thing that we wanted. Okay. Try get customers. Now we want to do that. Let's actually set that to true. So loading is set to true. Let's see. Then just set loading to false. So we want to get the data, we set the customers, and then we set the loading to false. If there's an error, we set the error. Or actually, we could do that. We could do that. Let's do. Let's skip the logging. I don't think we need that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wonder if those actually affect this. Let's just add a lot fetching customers. Okay. And then let's do the same style down here. Let's also give it a loading. And instead of data, set health HEAL health check data. Okay. So now we have our health check data and our, oh, yeah, last thing was fetching health check data. Okay. Good stuff. So now we want to use fetch from API within our components. So let's start with the health check component. So we don't need to do our own fetching anymore, but we need to include so we want to get rid of this. And we want to import health check, yes, from API service. No, not API service. Nice attempted inference. Oh, yes, no, that is correct. No, we want from the hook. We already built the and it's, is it use fetch health check? Okay, so then instead of that, we want a const health check data loading error, and then we want if loading return loading if error, and then otherwise let's just go with that for now, because I'm not sure if we have awaited all the things we need to await. Bit of an error. Let's see, let's cancel and restart the service. Okay. Use effect is defined, but okay, that's fine. Set customer is assigned, yes. Missing a dependency. React hook use effect has a missing dependency customers. Has a missing dependency health check data. Okay, so is it that? Okay, I think you have to pass that in as a dependency. So then there. Customer ID is assigned a value but never used. All right, let's just get rid of that for now. We'll come back and try to add in the customer use effect. and use state in health checks. Did we not need that? Oh, it was right, because use state. Are we not? Oh, because this is the right. Because it's now all handled for us inside the use fetch health check. Okay. Now, let's just go back to the let's just leave off customers for now. So now we have a health check and a login. Okay, our health check works. Happy days. So now let's add our customers back in. And because we're not logged in, it's fine. So now we want to update the customers. Customers no longer needs. We do need the auth context, but we don't need any of that. And then we want to import use fetch customers, and then a const of customers loading from there. We don't need to use effect anymore. We have the access token. If no access token logged in, if loading, if error, and then let's just do this for now. Customers, and we don't need use effect or use state, but we still need use context because we're getting our auth context to be able to wait a minute. Our access token is being fetched from here. We don't actually need the access token from there. So I'm deciding whether our hook should tell us that we're not logged in, or whether we should even check to see if we're logged in. So let's leave that off for now and then see what happens. So this should, yeah, just say loading. We could set an error or set a not logged in, but we wouldn't want to do that on every. You know what? This is fine for now because we're going to refactor anyway the way the user interface works. So let's just test this. So Dave. Okay, so we are fetching our customers correctly, and it is fetching them likely as that. So let's nope. So let's do a yep, exactly that. But it's not it's customer dot customer ID contact name and company name. Oh. Okay, cool. And fetching health check data, fetching health check data. Fetching customers. So we just did the fetching customers once. All right. Now, let's go ahead and commit this before we make any more changes. Why'd you do that? Okay. Let's do an npm build. Oh, run build. So this is building the project and adding it to the assets directory, not the assets directory within front end, but the assets directory, which is part of the worker, so that when we do a Wrangler push or a Wrangler deploy, that it deploys the React app as well as the APIs. So git add git add yes. Okay. Git commit eventually I'm going to figure out a way to actually do the automated build to that assets directory and the push to Cloudflare automatically, probably with a GitHub action, but I haven't dug into that enough yet to know for sure the right way to do it. But let's React working with calls to API for health check and customers. All right. Cool. So we've got that done. Now let's figure out how to fetch just one customer instead of all the customers every time, and re-execute a check. Actually, it might be easier to do that from health check. So this is currently so if we're fetching the health check data, let me close some windows here. Okay. Now, health check and here. All right. And there. Okay. So our health check only changes when health check data changes. We have a set health check data, but we're not exporting that. We're only exporting the use fetch health check. Okay, so let's ask ChatGPT what it thinks we should do. How should I best trigger re-executing use effect? So I'm sure we need to clear the health check data or set a flag to recheck it. Okay, trigger. So do we export? In React, the use effect hook runs when the component mounts and also when any of its dependencies change. So where would we, would we export a, that doesn't seem correct. So use fetch health check, we pass in so we pass the trigger in, and so that comes from there. Oh, okay, I see. So you do trigger and then trigger. So then here you would do a trigger. All right, and that's in that component. Just to do a button on click set trigger. Yeah. So it's just a toggle. Now what is trigger is not defined. Where is it not defined? Huh? Oh. What's that? What's that supposed to be? Use state is not defined. Ah, because we no longer import it. Okay, cool. So now we should have a button that re-triggers our health check. So let's just reload the page. Let's clear the console. Trigger. Nope. Didn't work. Let's see. Set trigger to not trigger. So that should toggle it between true and false. It started as false, but we didn't pass it in when we said there. Trigger. So it never changed from null. Still no. Or wait. Do we not need to pass it in? Is it because it's received? No, that is... We have to pass that dependency in. Right, because if I say... console... and then... Do we break? Missing dependency, right. So, as I expected, we have to pass that in. Okay, so triggered with trigger false, triggered with trigger false. Triggered with trigger true. Okay. Oh! I see what's happening. So we are hitting the use effect, but because health check data hasn't changed, so we don't know whether our previous state const... Well, actually, I think we might just do this. No. So const trigger state. Yes, so that should set that on its first state. So then if trigger state is not equal to trigger, then we do it, and we want to set the trigger state to trigger. Okay, boo-boo. We are setting that. Did I kill the server? No, I have not killed the backend server. Backend server seems to be still working. we could do... I don't think this makes sense, but let's also do that, and then if not, health check data. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, but let's see what happens. I don't think this is it. Okay, false. Getting health data, false. Trigger. Oh, that was it. What? That doesn't make sense. Why do we need to check for health check data if we were only doing it when trigger was not equal to trigger? Oh, because it never executed the first time. So we could do not trigger. So that would trigger the first time. Yeah, there we go. That does make sense. I was just being silly. Okay, now we don't need this log. We don't need that log. Sweet. Okay, now let's pass in a customer ID here. Yeah, sorry, Dan, I didn't see your question there. Yes. That is exactly what I was not clear on, was that trigger was obviously the exact same. So switching it to not trigger makes the initial execution happen. So, cool. So now we want to pass in a customer ID. Customer ID. Customer ID. Const of customer last customer ID set last customer ID use state. No. Okay. Currently thinking, do we actually want to always... So we could either fetch all customers, or we could fetch some customer, or a customer. Now, I don't know whether it makes sense to extend this to be able to accommodate for both, or if it makes sense to have separate functions. If I have separate functions, there's a little more overhead, but it makes it simpler to reason about. I think the use cases would be different. Potentially the URL is going to be different. So actually, we need to let's go further down. Let's go down to the so we don't need to health check anymore. That's good. But let's open our customer, and we want to also want to open up our get customers. And the use effect is get customers. I mean, I suppose this would be easy enough to export get customer. Yes, exactly. And then we just need, okay, that's all we need to do there. Okay. That was a no-brainer. So easy enough to do that. Get customer. So if our fetch customers receives a customer ID, we have the last customer ID. So because this is going to be set to null, actually let's set this to -1. We will never have a customer ID of null. So here we can say if no, we don't even want to say that, just if just if customer ID is not equal to that, we're going to fetch the customers. We're going to set the last customer ID to customer ID. Then set loading to true. Set error to null. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Gosh, Copilot sure does know an awful lot of stuff, but let's double check that what we think is happening is happening. If we have a customer ID, we're going to get a customer, passing our access token and a customer ID. We're going to set the customers to, no, not to an array of data. It's going to be data.customers sub 0. That would work in the happy path. Let's just go with that for now. We can make it smarter after. Otherwise, we get all the customers. Okay. I think that might work. What is complaining? Dependency trigger state. Trigger state. What? Where are you complaining? Last custom. Oh. Trigger state and last customer ID. Okay, but we are not actually okay, so what we need to do here is add a form. You can't do that, right? Is it star? Is that the right syntax for? How do you comment and React? Fine. I think it is that. Add an input and button to search for assistant. Yes. I was hoping it would just tell me how to do that. Just because I don't want to look up the proper syntax. Not a front-end engineer. Add an input box and button. handle button. Yeah, something like that. I wasn't sure if there was a fancy React way to deal with it. I guess just the on-click handler is kind of what I was thinking of. We need a handler though, of course. But actually all we want to do is on-click should set we haven't created the customer ID, so customer ID, set customer ID to the use state of null. Yes, and we need to add use state up here. Use state. Now, onClick should set customer ID to the value of the input box. Okay, yeah. So just handle button click. It goes up, yes, here. Handle input change. So then we wouldn't actually need the button because just changing the value changes that. So if we set the customer ID on that, but then we also need to do this and customer ID. All right. Oh, something's not happy. What's not happy? Input value not defined. What did I just value? Oh, so we would just set, so this is just customer ID, right? Is that a two-way binding already? Do I actually need that? I still think in Angular 1 terms, because I do so little front end, that my front end knowledge is, well, I actually think in jQuery terms half the time. Let's see here. So if we log in, we have customers complaining about value prop on input should not be null. Oh, okay. So we could try that. But let's try 1. Excellent. Oh, okay. Obviously, because customer is coming as the only value. So let's change those two things. First, not null. Empty, but we also want to set it to no. And that was the wrong thing. We already did the correct thing by setting that to -1. It is here that we want to set this to an empty string. Yes, because it's going to come in as an if customer ID. So an empty string should still execute get customers, but let's see. Okay, so we're running again. All right, no more complaining. Okay, we have multiples. Okay. Oh, obviously. So if we just remove that for now. Because now it should react the same way. Okay, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Is that going to throw an error, or is that just going to be empty? Empty, and then we get rid of it. Ha! Nice. Okay, so now we have one or more customers working. Status get dot build build. So we'll build the React app over into our Wrangler asset, or our worker asset folder. Probably should set up the CI/CD to do the deployment from GitHub tomorrow. But I'd like to deal with the token because I'm tired of having to log in over and over. I could just, at the moment, store the access token. But I don't like that. I could still just store the refresh token and we can exchange it. That's kind of what I wanted to do today anyway. So maybe that makes sense. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. As soon as we get this pushed up, and we'll do a deployment, a Wrangler deploy first. If it ever finishes building. Let's go. Today. Are you doing the thing? What's happening? Just saw that. Just to go away. I thought it was telling me to go away. Oh. All right, there we go. Cool. So now get add dot dot. Okay, get commit m fetching one or more customers works properly. Okay, now let's do a deployment. Deploy. So npx Wrangler deploy. Now let's check that our deployment goes through. Cloudflare. Cloudflare. Deployments, there we are. So it says it's completed. So if we come to I thought I already had it open. Here. Trigger. Hey. Okay, and now Dave. Login works. 1, 2, 3. probably just because of the flashing of customers, I could just move just the detail down here. Or no, it's because, yeah, I don't know. Doesn't matter. This is just the test part anyway. This isn't the actual application that we'd be using. Okay, so let's go do some token stuff. All right. So let's open our login, which I think is still doing its own fetching. Yep. So that's handling our submit. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we can update the fetch from API to have a export use const use login, which receives a username and password. No, just that. Okay. Don't need that. All right. So what we're going to need here. See, but we don't. This is our hook. That's because I'm in the wrong spot. We might want to come back here though. What we want though is our service. And our service. Oh, we already have a login? Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Export. Use login. Okay. So where did we use our auth context already? So we need to use our context, but we need access token. Refresh. Come on, do some magic for me, would you? Oh, auth context. Because the app, but that comes from the auth provider. Auth provider. There we go. Just grab those so I can see them. All right, back to our login here. We got our access token, fresh token. Oh. What? What? Cannot redeclare access token. Where is that? I mean, I know that it's here, but that's only within that function. Or is just the editor being silly? access token. Yeah, I think the editor is just being silly. Oh, let's see though. Let's just see. Let's not even worry with the refresh token at the moment. But we also need the set auth token. So, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. And we need a, yeah, login handler. But use login wouldn't receive the... Okay, hang on here. So the username and password, yeah, because we could set those so their state could change. So anytime their state changes, we could deal with the login handler. Lack of React experience is shining bright. Okay. Maybe we should just quickly... No. Let's just fumble. Let's just fumble around and see if we can't figure it out. If we have a login handler, let's see, let's just see how we were using health check. Let's just, okay. So that is calling the hook. We have the hook that's calling login, which is coming from the API service. So, and set auth token is coming from our use context. Let's go ahead and bring in refresh token. Refresh token and set Actually, we don't even need access token. We just need set auth token and set refresh token. Yeah. And actually, it's not auth. Is it auth token? It shouldn't be, should it? Or is it? I keep getting... Yeah, it's access token. Access token. Set access token. And then let's see. Now, how does login handler let's see. All right, I'm gonna have to use my lifeline here. What is the best method for using the login handler? From here, you're supposed to be able to interact with the application. Okay, so So we don't, okay. Use, all right, I'm going to have to, let's see. React login hook. When was this published? 2020. I'm not sure how much it's changed, but let's just see if we can get a rough idea. Okay, we just want to perhaps we should just go a little easier. So if we come back to the login, let's just try to pass the data first. So handle submit. So we are already getting that. We no longer need that or that. Oh, can we not just do this as well? Oh, no, because you're fetching the, yeah. And did I actually screw up? Does that work or does it not work? Okay, yeah. Because those are destructured because they're named. Okay. These are arrays. These are objects. Good braining, Dave. So if we have our values and change is already set to change those, and the on submit is handle submit. So we want to import, we don't, auth context is okay for now. We may not need it anymore, but we want to import, nope, that's not right. We want to import use login from fetch API. Use login, so if use, so I'm not sure, so how this is a hook, I'm not sure yet because I don't understand React hooks well enough. React login hook. Why is the internet so broken? Okay, okay, let's get a set. none of those did what I was. All right, let's try this. And a React application. In a React application, I have a what we want. A login service and am creating a login hook to be used by the login component. What is the most React way to do this? Okay. All right. We'll come back to the globally handling it. So the login service yes. Probably could do some better naming, but that's fine. So we have that. That's fine. So a exported const use login. Use login. That's what we have here. What they have, they're getting a is logged in, set is logged in. Possibly we could do that. User, we might do that. We'll see. So then within use login, we have a const login and a const logout, and we return. Okay, I see. So use login there. We have a login, which is async, and it receives the username and password. I don't think we send. No, we do. We don't send it from there. So then we do the login-y stuff. Deal with logout later. So it's just executed, but then at the end we return login loading an error. Okay, that makes sense. So our use login has values that get returned. And so login is a function that is being returned. So then in here, let's see, how do we, so we import use login, and then in our component const login equals the use login. So we destructure login from the use login function. Then to perform the login function, we do a login with username and password, but we need to actually, no, this is on the handle to submit. So I think we can get rid of that. Well, it's in get anyway. It's in get. All right, so we have the submit. Comma loading error. If loading, say we're loading. If error, say we're error. We are catching the E and setting the E, and we're setting the error to false. Sets true. Okay, good. Yeah, I think that might actually be what we're after. So what was confusing me was that I knew we had these functions, and in the other items we've been using use effects, or use effect, which is triggered during rendering. And I wasn't sure how we actually interacted with the login. So basically this line is what was confusing me, not knowing about that. So once we got to the point of understanding that, that made a lot more sense to me. Login is defined but never used. In which file? Use fetch from API. In use fetch from API. Line 3. Hello? Is, oh, because that is, okay, let's rename that to login service. Yeah. And login service. So that was just going to be an infinite loop of confusion. Okay. Let's leave that up until we figure out if this works. But I think we are... Oh, that is not my local server. Make sure, yeah, that still works. Dave. Not logged in. Okay, so an error with the login. Let's just see, did we... Yes, we tried to fetch with a token. And we don't actually need to fetch with a token. No, that's get customers. Yeah, no, we are sending the URL and that. And the string of file. Okay, let's just add back in... into... Let's make sure that our username and password are reaching here. Login service, username, password. So if we get all the way down there, yes, we are getting all the way down to our service, but we are getting a .401 post to 401 is unauthorized. And we're stringifying the username and password. Let's just double check our actual API. Actually, I can see that from Postman easier. User login. API/user/login. API/user. /login. Clear the screen there. Here. And we're logged in. And our customer interaction still works. Okay, so now, is there anything we can remove from here? Nope, that looks good for now. I can close health check though. Let's see. So now we need to store this in our login. So in our service, we are setting those. Okay, so let's start by storing the refresh token. Let's see. Now we could store that in just local storage for now, and then we can look into security further after the fact, but store refresh token but you can't store an HTTP only cookie. Maybe I misunderstand HTTP cookies, but I don't think so. I mean, because we're interacting with JavaScript, so we have to send it from JavaScript. So let's actually just come back and store React. So session is only during, so yeah, I don't think either of those are gonna work for tonight or for today. Oh, I've only got 15 minutes left anyway. Let's just store this session in local storage. React local local storage. It says just local storage set item. Okay. Let's just set the refresh token. Okay. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that, I don't think. Don't need that. Don't need that. And it's under application, right? Storage. Or local storage. Local host. Okay, let's just refresh. Okay. Okay, we have stored our token, and don't think we're going to have enough time to go through the flow of refreshing. So I think that'll be it for today. I had fun with this. React is definitely different than what I'm used to doing day to day. I mean, there's obviously similar elements of any type of programming, but trying to understand the React paradigm is a little different than working as a DevOps backend engineer, which I'm really more backend engineer at the moment than I have been in a while, and less DevOps, but I like both. So tomorrow, all going well, which, what is tomorrow, Friday? Yes. Wow. This week went by quickly. So tomorrow we will exchange the refresh token for a new access and refresh token. We've already got the blacklisting of refresh and access tokens for a refresh token that has been used working in the back end. So we can store the refresh token when you attempt to, when you refresh the page, your access token is lost, but your refresh token will be stored in the local storage for now. We'll see how we can handle this better in the future. And then that way we won't have to log in every time we refresh the page, since we refresh the page often, just making sure that our full React application gets reloaded. If you have any questions or want to let me know that I'm doing things completely crazy, please join our Discord server. It's small, but it's growing. DevOpsDave.net/Discord. I'm always there, so feel free to reach out. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.